The character of Yuji Itadori is a very complicated and a very debated subject in the show Jujutsu Kaisen, and when it comes to understanding him, it can become a little bit tricky. In this video, I will try to give my 2 cents on understanding Yuji and exploring some of the common theories that may hold some insight to who Yuji truly is. And throughout the show, there have been many hints and theories that point towards the true identity of Yuji and maybe some of his hidden powers that we might not have known before. Get ready to see the character of Yuji from a completely different lens, because there are many things that just fly over our heads as we watch the show. So, Yuji Itadori is a very strong individual who Gojo places on the same level of potential as Yuta. This was part of the reason as to why Yuji became the vessel for Sukuna, as he possessed no ill effects after eating the finger like many others may have. Yuji is a literal definition of superhuman when it comes to physical abilities as well, as when he was up against Chozo, he was able to dodge his piercing blood that travels at the speed of sound, and he is able to run a 50-meter track within 3 seconds, giving him a 37.3 miles per hour speed. Yuji has also proven that he is now able to use reverse curse technique, an ability that only a few skilled sorcerers are able to use. But you might ask, why is understanding the strength of Yuji even important? This is because it relates and helps us understand many parts of the character of Yuji and who he is. More importantly, his family tree and who gave him birth. As we know, that strength in Jujutsu Kaisen often is the result of inheritance, which is shown many times throughout the show, as Gojo comes from the Gojo clan and inherited the 6 eyes, Megumi from the Zenin clan inheriting the 10 shadows technique, etc, etc. So this begins to beg the question, who is the father and mother of Yuji and where did he come from? Well, as shown in the manga, chapter 143, the mother of Yuji is actually Kenjaku. Yuji's actual mother, Kyori Itadori's body was taken over by Kenjaku, which we don't know for how long or when he did this, and he most likely used Jin, who is Yuji's father, to make a baby afterwards, leading to Yuji, as probably an experiment from Kenjaku. And I say experiment because Yuji was most likely created with the intent of becoming the vessel of Sukuna, which is evident as Yuji had no connection to the Jutsu world until he swallowed the finger. And this would also explain where Yuji got his strength from Kenjaku. Although this isn't 100% concrete, this is a very high and probable chance that this was the case of Yuji. Along with this, there's another theory that I see floating around from time to time that tries to explain the strength of Yuji Itadori, that Yuji is actually related to Sukuna from the Heian era, which he is then where he got his strength from. And just looking at Sukuna and looking at Yuji, this kind of would make sense that they would be related because they do look very similar, especially when Sukuna is in his Heian form, in his true form. He looks a lot like Yuji. And this is most likely just because of the choice of art design from Gege, and probably has no connection towards Sukuna and Yuji actually being related. But if we do follow the theory, this would make sense as to why a 1 in a million chance Sukuna's soul is able to incarnate. Otherwise, it's just a lethal poison that would, kill anyone else that would have consumed his finger. But Yuji, he might not be just someone else. Rather, he is a descendant of Sukuna, and that's why his soul is compatible with Sukuna's, increasing the chance of incarnation, maybe up to 100%. Furthermore, if we do believe that this theory holds true, Yuji being able to suppress Sukuna's soul, even though Sukuna is known as the king of curses, would further solidify this argument, and even the fact that Sukuna himself was surprised that Yuji was able to suppress him may make this a little bit more concrete. But there still are many gray areas in this theory, as we don't know a lot about the family tree past Yuji's grandfather. And maybe if Yuji's grandfather did have some sort of connection to Sukuna, then this would make sense as to why Kenjaku would choose Kaori to take over her body and create Yuji, as they would have some relation to Sukuna, which this would make sense. And as we're on the subject of the relationship between Sukuna and Yuji, maybe if they aren't related by blood, they may have some association with each other. And hear me out on this one, because Sukuna is a demonic entity as we know, and his last name, Ryomen, means two-faced. which can be applied to the character both literally and figuratively. In short, Sukuna possessed no morals, and he took pleasure out of killing things and would kill anybody in an instant. And this is completely the opposite case for Yuji. Yuji is someone who has morals, and everything that Yuji believes in is the complete opposite of what Sukuna believes in, which is why they have such a negative relationship with each other. And some people theorize that Yuji is in fact the peaceful part of Sukuna that he tried to reject, and the reason that Sukuna may not even recognize this is because he has rejected that part of himself, that good part of himself, so much to the point where he doesn't even recognize Yuji. Yuji may have reincarnated and manifested as the part of Sukuna that he threw away and is now come back in order to overthrow Sukuna. But there aren't many things to support this theory other than that Sukuna and Yuji are two sides of a coin and that they believe in different things and clash against each other. And what about the relationship of Yuji and his brothers? What about Todo and what about Chozo? How come Todo refers to Yuji as his brother and Chozo does the same as well? Well, as we see in the show, Todo isn't actually Yuji's brother. He just refers to him as his brother as a part of his character. And the flashback that Todo does have is just him being crazy and his imagination taking over, creating a fake friend relationship, while Chozo is come from him actually being his brother. And we see that Chozo feels his brother dying through his technique when Yuji and Nomura killed him. Chozo felt Yuji dying the same way he felt his brothers dying, and the memory probably came from him having a memory of all of his brother, and Yuji was in there after he felt it. Well, Chozo and Yuji are more like half brothers, and I say this because the same sorcerer who created Chozo with his own blood did the same thing with Yuji, making the pair related. And this is done by Kenjaku. His blood courses through both of their veins, making the link between the pair the first insight into Itadori's family line. And for Chozo, his entire life, he has been trying to be the best older brother to his siblings, protecting them from harm and encouraging them like a father figure. And because of this, he would never let anyone lay a finger on one of his brothers, let alone hurt or kill them. And the idea that Chozo had been about to kill his own brother sent him into a mental breakdown, causing the curse hybrid to question, everything about his own life. Due to this, Chozo harbors a lot of resentment towards Kenjaku, as Kenjaku basically ruined both his life and Yuji's life as brothers, and they were unethically created to be weapons and had to watch their mother being used as a vessel for their creation. And thanks to this experimentation, instead of letting them choose their own lives and their own course of life, he forced them down a route he paved for them. And as we understand this, it's not too far off to assume that Yuji is a part of the Death Womb paintings. And with understanding this, isn't too far off to assume that Kenjaku also stole Yuji as a vessel from Tengen along with the other Death Womb paintings in order to fulfill his goal. And he created Yuji for the sole purpose of becoming Sukuna's vessel on purpose, which is why after Yuji consumes Sukuna's finger, he actually inherits cursed energy. And this explains exactly why Sukuna looks so similar to Yuji, because of the fact that for the Death Womb paintings, when the spirit manifests into the vessel, the higher the resistance that spirit has against cursed spirits, the less is going to resemble its true self and more is going to resemble the vessel, which is why Yuji and Sukuna look so similar, and this can be explained by that fact.